Alright, spur of the moment Elden Ring boss tier list. I'm doing this mostly because I want to see if this Metroid Prime music is about to get me demonetized, so I'm not going to upload it to my new channel. So yeah, Elden Ring boss tier list. Margit, the Fell Omen. He is obviously the first boss that most people are going to fight. You start the game, boom, the Grace is pointing you north, right to Stormvale, and he's there to friggin' be a wall. I'm gonna be honest. I don't love the mechanics of the fight. I think that he has a lot of instant kind of jabby moves with the little knife after swinging his hammer horizontally. And I notice more and more as I play this game, the way that I fight him is just try to get him to do his jump up into hammer slam as much as possible because that's kind of the only time I know I can punish or I should say it's the only time I can safely punish. So in terms of a mechanical fight, I don't really like it. But in terms of an awesome voice and an awesome character in the lore who just jumps down, feels like a badass, and is one of honestly the more compelling characters who aren't tarnished at all. I think his lore is awesome, but I'm gonna have to put him in C because as a boss mechanical fight, not a big fan. Is this Fire Giant? Oh. Oh no, this is Godric the Grafted. Obviously. So Godric, right after you get past Margit, you're going up, you're going deep into Stormvale. And one thing I really appreciate is the NPCs are talking about Godric. Be it like Kenneth when you meet him out in the peninsula or White Mask Vare, they're all talking about what a coward this dude is and how this isn't the real Godfrey. This guy's just a fucking nothing. I love how much they set this boss up in Stormvale and kind of especially in the surrounding area. As a boss, he's pretty cool actually. I really like the move where he goes into his second phase and grabs and takes the dragon and uses it as a flamethrower. It's super easy to dodge once you know it's coming, and he does it every time he enters the second phase. But I think it's really cool. I like the fight a lot more than Margit here. So I'm going to go ahead and put Godric up in B. Godric, I think, is a good way to kind of close off the end of Stormvale. But obviously, he's not going to be living up to any of the true later game bosses, you know. Renala. Renala is going to be another one of the mandatory bosses you go to, probably after beating Godric as your second Remembrance boss. As time has gone on, this has become my least favorite of kind of these major early game bosses. I think the run back, it's one of the only times in Elden Ring that a boss has an obnoxious run back, and I don't know why they decided to randomly give her one. And it's especially weird when this is a boss that has a really unique first phase that I thought was awesome when I first did it, where you have to find the little student, the barefoot student with the freaking flame on their head. It's a super creepy sequence, but it's just weird in a Souls game where you're expected to die to the boss multiple times, and you're gonna have to do that part over and over. It really wears on you. As cool as it is, and then kind of her main fight. I don't know. I think it's cool that she can summon things like a dragon, and her Kamehameha laser is cool in theory. I'm not really a fan. And the weird inclusion of a boss run back, I don't know why they decided that. I'm going to also throw her in the C tier. Okay. Scar Scourge Radon. If you ask me what the most grandiose epic fight in this game is, how would you pick anything other than Radon? Playing this game on release, this fight was incredibly obnoxious. And if you go and watch kind of like early Elden Ring playthroughs like Asmongold or someone, you'll see just how different certain things are, like the hitbox of his move where he like lifts the two swords up out of the sand. And that just used to have such a massive AoE. And I really did not appreciate the mechanics of this fight until my second time through. And I also really appreciate the like subtle sense of humor, how you can like summon Patches and Patches just runs away. But if you summon like Blide, he'll actually fight. So a boss that I originally had put in C tier, just kind of acknowledging the amazingness of the visuals of the fight, the way that at halfway he fucking jumps up into space and it gets dark and he comes down and that changes the whole world as a meteor. I thought was incredibly sick, and I probably would have put it in C tier. But coming back and seeing Radon actually get nerfed and having just ran through the game multiple times and kind of understanding how good jump R2s are, I've found myself less frustrated with Radon. I'm going to be able to actually put him all the way up here in A tier. One of the probably highest risers in my like replay throughs. Ancestor Spirit, really cool boss. Like the way that the antlers, you can see all the like the minions outside had kind of like modeled their helmets after it. The way you get to it is really sick. How you light up all the things in that like tribal area, all the little torches. And this boss has a really unique soundtrack that you're actually not going to hear too much of because you're going to just slaughter this dude. If you've made it this far in the game, this is not going to be a challenge. And not every boss has to be super hard, but for a boss that they like clearly designed really well and gave a whole soundtrack to, it's kind of a one and one and done kind of boss, so that it does kind of limit it if I'm being honest. But the visuals, gonna land it here in B tier. Lich Dragon Fortisax. I'm not a huge fan of the dragon fights really generally across the board, minus one specific one, which you can probably all guess already in this game, and really across all the Souls games. Fortisax, I think, has really cool lore, though, the way that it ties into, like, going into Fia's dream, and kind of the way that Fortisax is the leader of this type of I think they're ancient dragons. That said, I don't like this. I don't like the fight of this one at all. I feel like the lightning AoE is super weird, and it's kind of, I don't know. Maybe I need to jump more to dodge it, but I always feel like I'm taking weird hitbox problems with this. But B tier, because kind of like the Ancestor Spirit, I do appreciate the visuals of the fight. Not as much as this one, but this is actually a challenging fight, so I'll take it. Estelle. Every boss who has a hitbox in this game has definitely, or has a hitbox, has a grab in this game, has at some point made me rage just beat more than anything else with the funky grab hitboxes. That said, I feel like this fight is really cool. The way it has lasers, the way that just the uniqueness of how it looks, like how it's this centipede made of beads and it comes down and there's a skull. I think it looks sick. The way it moves and it just slithers is awesome, and I love that it's weak in the head, and like you really feel satisfied when you just fucking smash its skull in. I don't love all of the bosses that kind of fly around and do ranged shit, but probably here. here in the B tier above the Ancestor Spirit, I think I'll put. So taking kind of the amazing visuals and amazing lore, but just incredibly frustrating, unlikable fight dichotomy to the max, is Rykard. I remember when I first played the game, going from like into Volcano Manor into fighting Rykard and feeling like you just stumbled upon this like this crazy snake god like out of nowhere was one of the highlights of my first playthrough for sure. That said, they FromSoft loves their like pick up a weapon and use it in the battle type battles. They did that with Yorm the Giant in Dark Souls 3. They did that with the Storm Ruler and Demon King. And this is another one of these. I just don't feel like if you're gonna do this, don't make the fight that hard because it's inevitably gonna be kind of frustrating, I feel like. And I think one thing that has helped me kind of just like usually clear this on my first try these days is that I'll use a weapon that's a non-somber stone upgrade path, and then once I get to this boss, I'll grab the Serpent Slayer, I'll fight him and die, and then I'll go back and I'll upgrade it to +5, and then the second time I'll just smash him. Doesn't make up for the first experience. I still don't love the fight really at all. Probably more than Renala, because there's no... Yeah, actually, he's gonna go here, top of C tier. Okay. This is Godfrey's Spirit. I forget exactly what this is called. But this is really kind of just a midpoint boss, something to keep you tied over as you've gone pretty far in Landell at this point without kind of a named boss. I mean, this is just an appetizer for me. I feel like it's just kind of a roadblock, so I'll put it here in C tier. It's fine. He's a fun fight, so maybe here, but not doing much. So I cannot tell what this boss is. Maybe we'll come back to it. Fire Giant is another candidate for one of the probably most improved since I've played the game multiple times candidates. And it comes back to me learning about jump R2s. And kind of once the second phase starts, I kind of am better about being able to really hit the eye. And I talked about with Estelle the satisfaction of when you smash the skull and it does a ton of damage. That's doubly true here with with the eye. And there is a gnarly crit you can get in the second phase after he goes down and the eye on his chest opens. When you stab a sword through this thing's eye, I haven't felt a like satisfaction in doing the combat and getting a crit that way since Bloodborne and I was reaching up a pig's ass. And that was one of the most rewarding moments for me fighting the fire giant, when you fucking plunge your sword into the eye, dude. Still, there's a lot of annoying shit about this boss too, though. When he like first phase uses the plate to like scoop some snow at you from a football field away, and it can like one-shot you if you don't have vigor. It's kind of a symptom of the late game of Elden Ring just not, well, I shouldn't say not being tuned well, but just kind of being overtuned to account for however long everyone has been playing. Not my favorite, but probably a boss who's gone from D all the way up to B. Really one of the risers for me. Mohg is my favorite boss in the game. Mohg Lord of Blood is is really just hitting a home run on every level for me. He has, in my opinion, the coolest, well, one to two of the coolest boss arenas in the game, where you've actually been seeing it as you've gone through Ainsel River and you've gone through the underground. You see these kind of almost Greek looking columns up in the distance, and it has this eerie red glow. And then you learn more about his dynasty and just the way that he even says it, the dynasty and the trident. I think everything visually about this boss, incredible. Where he is going to be a big part. Well, I guess he's not going to be a big part of the DLC, but he is going to be the gatekeeper of the DLC. In terms of mechanics, the one piece of feedback I would say is obviously the time when he like does the curse when he raises up the trident. Like, if you don't, that's one of those things where if you don't come in knowing like, oh, I have to use this item at this time, that or else there's nothing I can do. That's a criticism of the boss I can take. But for me, it doesn't matter. Now I know about it, and now I can just fully enjoy the fight. I love one move I love is when he makes a little like portal above you and starts raining blood that does kind of fire damage. I love that. I love when he sprouts wings in a way that's kind of in a cool way reminiscent of the Crucible and kind of shows his ties to coming up as an omen. He jumps up and he kind of dive bombs you in the same way that those Crucible Knights do. I think his moveset is awesome. It's a challenging fight too. He's not Melania, where he hits a point where I feel like it's unfun. He is just a perfect challenging boss for me, with S tier lore, amazing music, incredible visuals, and a build up that you've been not even knowing you've been wanting the whole game. My favorite boss. So here we are, Melania, the goddess of rot, or Melania, Blade of Mikola, depending on how good you are at the fight. But incredible visuals, incredible lore. I think I can say that about all of the main Remembrance bosses, but in particular here. But so much has been said about Melania. What could I even say? Waterfowl Dance, the attack, is probably the prime example of, I think, FromSoft losing the point of making a really challenging boss. That's just where it just becomes, okay, I need to perfectly learn this dance and do it. Well, it's not really even a dance. It's just, okay, she does it. Now I tilt this way, roll, go back, and you just have to learn basically from YouTube or just trial and error how to dodge this stupid attack. And so you either learn it or you can do it in a cheesy way. I normally beat this boss with Frost or with bleeding, and I do like to do a little cheesy just because I don't enjoy the fight as much. But I cannot take away from the visuals the way that the Scarlet Flower explosion during the battle is so sick, and the way that she kind of in the second phase flies up and does those little copies. That attack is awesome. I really think every aspect except Waterfowl Dance of Melania would have put her in an S tier, but she actually comes down to the B tier, and that's me kind of respecting her place in the lore, even because I think this is FromSoft kind of missing the point with making bosses, in my opinion. Actually, hold that thought, because the Godskin duo just, every negative thing I've said about Melania is amplified here, where it's kind of just, we really want to make this hard for hardness sake. But this throws in the classic FromSoft the Elden Ring classic combo, I should say. We're just gonna pair these two bosses together, good luck. If you don't know, you can sleep these guys really easily, and has made my run throughs of the game much, much more pleasant, especially since these guys drop the final bell bearing you need. God damn, this is this is an unfun filler boss though. I mean that's all it is, straight up. And yeah, we're just gonna leave them down in D tier. Okay, Placidusax, the the actual first Elden Lord from a time long past in Farum Azula, is the only boss that I'm gonna put up in the S tier, up here with Moog. I mentioned with Moog that he had a really, really sick boss arena. I mean, Placidusax might even have him beat there with the way that you lay down and then time is even reversed and you're brought back and you're finally meeting with this long forgotten Elden Lord who was a fucking dragon who had the same lightning powers as fucking Fortisax, but this dude is fucking huge and he has 3 heads. And I think Placidusax from a lore perspective does something that FromSoft has gotten away from in recent years, which is leaving a lot of stuff up to mystery and without a lot of definitive answers. I feel like back in the day they were a lot more willing to just let a boss kind of be mysterious with only a few lore pieces to make him kind of to build up the legend but also keep the mystery. And I think they walk that tightrope here amazingly. And then once you get the remembrance and you can do his little move where he turns into a cloud and then slams down with the lightning, is honestly one of the sickest of the weapon arts in the game. My favorite FromSoft dragon ever. I didn't think anyone was ever going to take over Calamite. But yeah, Placidusax is a deserving S tier up there with Manus and the best that FromSoft has to offer, in my opinion. Malekith slash fucking Cleric Man. Cleric Beast. I want to call him the Cleric Beast, but he's not. That's a Bloodborne boss, even though Cleric Beast makes a lot of sense for him. I do not like the first phase. The the Beastman clergyman is what he's called. Not a big fan of how he's like throwing rocks and you walk in and immediately you're kind of in a skinny area where you can fall off either side. It is a little interesting how I feel like he, on the one hand, he might rush in on you really fast. Then he also has a lot of moves where he'll like quickly slide around and then try to throw rock sling at you, I think is the name of the spell. So I'm not a huge fan of that first phase. I'm a huge hater of Blackblade Malekith in the second phase. I feel like if ever there was a boss that was like the Four Kings in the sense of you just want to like kind of be aggressive to the point where, you know, you're dodging and you're pressing roll, but you're honestly being a little reckless and just kind of doing the fight as much times as it takes until you feel like you won. That was my experience with Malekith. And then if you get hit by his stupid red lightning attack that drains your health, you're kind of, I mean, you have 5 seconds to finish the fight or you're just done. So I really just dislike this fight mechanically. I hope that we get a little more about maybe the Glowmite Queen Glowmite Queen in the DLC is another one of those characters they leave up to mystery, I think, in a really cool way, and while giving you Malekith. So maybe I don't wish for that, but cool lore. Objectively looks really sick. I really, really hate this fight. I'll give him the visuals and the lore implications. We'll leave him out of the D tier. I really fucking hate this fight though. Fun fact: I've seen a lot of people online just just say that this is one of the single most obnoxious, like the all-knowing is one of the most obnoxious fights if you go and you talk to him and you like tell him about all the bosses you beat, which is a cool mechanic. If you don't know, if you talk to this guy at the round table hold, I'm fucking forgetting his name, at the round table hold, and you tell him about like, oh, I beat Renala, and then suddenly he'll come into this fight and he'll remember how you told him about Renala, and now he'll have certain moves from Renala. And so that mechanic is really cool, but I just never remembered to do it when I play the game. And so I haven't seen. Oh, and then that criticism is sometimes he just becomes a fucking caster god and becomes a frustrating fight. And I've never seen that. I've always just been really mid about him. I'm just gonna leave him in B because he's kind of fine, but I need to go back and really do his quest line, especially because I don't even remember his name, and that's incredibly embarrassing for me. But okay, so I knew that it was going to be controversial to be putting Elena in B tier. I'm going to be. Oh, you know what? Let's save that for last. Godfrey, the first Elden Lord slash Horaloo chieftain. This is what this dude was a prelude to. Godfrey is so fucking cool. He has a giant axe that, how would I put it? I'm gonna cut this out, but okay. Godfrey the first Elden Lord. What if there was a gauntlet? No. Second time. All right, now we're playing with the big boys. Godfrey the first Elden Lord slash Horaloo chieftain. This first fight here is, I probably would be S tier if it was just that. I feel like Godfrey's first phase, when he's slamming his axe on the ground, when he has a really sick foot slam AoE, and is more nimble than you think, really reminds me of fighting Owl in Sekiro almost. Maybe it's just the giant ass old man with the beard. But the same way that they have a lot of tricky movements, I feel like plays into that. Once you beat this first phase, though, and bring that health bar down to 0, you fight Horaloo. And Horaloo isn't. Horaloo, I have a lot of. Horaloo is one of those bosses that I do not understand the hype for at all. He kills his lion, okay, that's cool. But once you get into the fight, then you're dealing with really funky hitboxes on grabs, and a boss that if you summoned anything is going to spend a lot of time flying in a triangle with these throws that do 40% of your health, and you spend a lot of time flying around or like watching an invincible boss grab something or being in a command grab. And I don't find any of that fun. I feel like people don't complain about it with Horaloo ever, but they complain about it in a lot of other bosses, and I just really do not understand why, especially when we have a boss like Moog, who I just find so satisfying to fight. as kind of one of the end game bosses. But I do love that first phase, and he's mm, you know what? I'm thinking about it. He is going to be in the top of B tier. I The lore of Horaloo, the battle and the lore of Godfrey, the way it's been built up at the top, right at the entrance of the Erd Tree. You know, it's not an A tier fight for me. I don't like the mechanics, but I'm gonna put it at the top of B just as a fucking sign of respect. I Leave a comment and tell me what boss this is. Is it some kind of frenzy? I'll come back and we'll call this Mesmer. I don't know. Oh, the another tragedy. If my problem with Godfrey was having a amazing first section and bad second section, oh my god. Oh my god, that Elden Beast completely takes the cake. What is Radagon? Radagon, when I first saw him, you see Marika up there, and I didn't know it at the time, obviously, but you finally go and you make it into the Erd Tree, and you find Marika up there hanging imprisoned, and she comes down, and when she hits the ground, it's Radagon of the Golden Order, and holy shit, it kind of just hit me all at once that you see the way that his hammer is imbued with the gold that you've been pursuing this whole game, and you see the red hair, and you're immediately back to thinking about Melania and even the fire giant, and you're thinking about um, Radon, and you just know that this is it. And I think one of the really unique things about the Radagon phase in particular is that he'll probably kill you on your first attempt. And by the time that you beat him and you realize that there is another basically more than half to the fight of Elden Beast, he's one that you can really learn the fight really well and get super consistent in doing, which is super important because the second phase is when you fight Elden Beast. You know, I was so excited when you see the arm of the beast and it's made of fucking space particles reach up and it's holding a sword fucking coming out of his flesh. But why is it a seal? Why is it a space seal? Why does it fly? Why are you in such a massive arena, but you don't have your horse? For a series that just like most of the time does amazing final bosses, with final bosses that are your same size, generally speaking, with like Gwyn and Gurman and Owl or Ishin. They're these incredible mechanical fights that have been building up the entire time to test you on what you've been doing. And maybe Elden Beast is that for just like my least favorite elements of Elden Ring. But there's never been a fly around watch boss as much as this. And even when the butterfly existed in Dark Souls 1, it wasn't obnoxious because it was a fairly easy fight. This is one of the longest battles in Elden Ring. And man, the first part is so sick. But man, I honestly hate this part even more. Yeah, Edge of Sea, final boss of the game, and it is fucking tragic. I pray that Mesmer is gonna be up here with the boys, but man, it is just a shame that a boss, they fumbled it so hard for a company that has honestly done amazing final bosses through their entire series. Um, yeah, Elden Beast sucks. I don't know what this boss is, so I'm just gonna cut the video there. Peace.